Argo Xplorer XR700 LE. EPS. Can't forget that. While it is a mouthful of a name, this is a beast of a machine. As you can see, it's a little bit full of dirt and dust. It's been through a little bit of testing just to see what Tanner here behind the camera thinks of it. This is what's replacing his Polaris. So obviously it was getting a little older, time for an upgrade. Why not go with something like this? There's not a lot of videos of this on YouTube yet, so I don't know if this is the first, but let's see. This machine right here boasts a 695cc single cylinder 4-stroke engine producing somewhere in the ballpark of 55 horsepower. It's not actually labeled anywhere on their site. It's got EFI, it's got diff lock, 4-wheel drive. This thing features dynamic, speed sensitive power steering. God, that's a mouthful. Is everything with this machine a mouthful?
Yep.
Quite an impressive machine, if I do say so myself. Okay, so Tanner, this is your new machine.
Yep.
Walk me through it.
Well, as you mentioned, obviously this is the 23 model year. The 22s and the 23s and the 24s are identical as far as I can tell. This is 23. The reason I went with this is, I mean, Argo is a huge name in the ATV world. They're mostly known for like their 8-wheeled amphibious stuff. That's what Argo is known for. I went with this because of the rebates that were on it. I got this machine, it was $3,500 in rebates on it, so I thought, why not? The next similar Polaris was like $5,000 more, so this seemed like a no-brainer. Now obviously Argo is not the manufacturer of this vehicle. The whole thing is manufactured by Kimco out of Taiwan, and according to the research I've done, they're pretty decent and they're fairly popular in Europe, in the European market. So in Europe, this is a Kimco MXU 700i, but basically the same bike. The other good thing about this machine was the value proposition with it. So right from the factory, you have a 3,500 pound winch down here, right from the factory. The bumper was not factory, I did add that on. It definitely makes it look a lot more aggressive. You also get LED running lights here, so kind of looks like the angry eyebrow lights there. So you got LED running lights there around front. And then on the tires, over here, you come from the factory with a 14-inch rim and 26-inch Maxxis Bighorn tires. And those are the original Bighorns, not the 2.0s. That could be a pro or a con, depending how you look at it. Some people like the original ones, some people like the 2.0s, but these are the OG ones. But either way, they're a great all-around trail tire, and they work well on this machine.
Okay, so first off, coming from your Polaris, what do you think of this? Is there something you like more with this versus the Polaris? Something you don't? Tell me.
Well, obviously the main appeal and why I wanted a bigger machine was power. So obviously 700cc. So it's like, obviously my old one was a 400cc, so not quite double, but horsepower figures are double if not more. So the main thing I like obviously is the power. There's lots of it. You can spin the wheels, you can drift, you can have a good old time. The other thing I really like with this is it revs very low compared to my Polaris I was used to. It's about 1,000 RPM slower the engine's running when you're driving. Like you could be doing 60, 70 down a trail and only be revving at like 4,400 RPM. My Polaris would be up in the mid-5s, struggling to keep up. Lots of power, revs low, and because of the low revving, it's also very fuel efficient. So the last ride I took it on, it was about 250 kilometers all in total, and it only used about a full tank of gas. So that's not bad. It is, I believe, it's a 25-liter tank, so it takes about a full jerry can to fill it up, but 220 kilometers of range, or 250, sorry, is more than enough for a four-wheel and way better than my Polaris was. All right, so this machine does also have a digital display cluster, which is very nice. So you can see right on your fly there, your fuel level, your speed, your mileage on the machine. It also has a clock right there, and your gear selector, and then RPMs across the top there. You can also switch here to your trips. So you have 2 different trips, the hours, and then back to the kilometers again. And then the mode button over here is used, I believe, for resetting the trip meters and also part of setting the clock. You can also toggle between kilometers per hour and miles per hour with these buttons as well, pressing and holding, I believe, both of them at the same time. Over here you have your winch controls, so in and out, standard stuff. headlights here. So I said in the off position, your LED accent lights are on, and those are your low beams and your high beams. The accent lights stay on, I believe, with everything, right? Yeah, so that's high beams there, that's low beams, and then that's just the accent lights. There's no way to turn the accent lights off, they're always on. Yeah, so this is your differential lock here. So you can run it in 2-wheel drive, which it's in now. Push that button in, you'll go into 4-wheel drive. And then if you want to go to 4-wheel drive lock, you take this lever here and you just twist it over and it would put into 4-wheel drive lock. So this is your shift lever here. Low, high, neutral, park, reverse, the standard range for a CVT driven 4-wheeler. Shifter is pretty nice, it's firm, it has a nice click to it. It is a little finicky though. Sometimes when going into reverse or park, you gotta give the bike a little bit of a wiggle here or a little tap with the throttle to get its seat into gear. I'm always told the dealer when I pick that up, that's fairly common with these machines, and it is supposed to get better the further you get, the more mileage you get onto it as everything breaks in nicely. So the seat is okay. Now, of course, I'm used to Polaris, and Polaris is known as like the cushy couch machines of the ATV world. So compared to my Polaris, this isn't as good. It's okay, but for the longer rides, your butt gets a little bit sore. Like I said, the last ride I had it out, I was riding about 7 hours straight that day, and I could definitely feel it around the 5-hour mark. But if you're just going out for a few hours at a time, it's absolutely fine. It's a pretty big seat there, wider at the back, skinnier at the front, and it's fairly padded, just not as squishy as the Polarises are. So storage capacity is another kind of gripe with this 4-wheeler. There's not much of it. So you do have in the center, this is really nice here. So in the center, you have this big glove box here. It is felt lined, and it does have a rubber gasket. There's some condensation here because it's hot in here. Like this is sealed really well. So it's sealed here. It's felt lined, so you throw your phone in there. And you do also have here a full-blown USB port, so you can charge your phone or tablet or whatever right in there. That's basically it. The only other storage you have over here is on your fender. I don't know what on earth this would be good for, so it's locked. It only opens with the key here. And there's just that. I don't know what you could use that for. It's not watertight because there's a hole in the bottom for it for drainage, so it just seems kind of weird and useless, but I guess something's better than nothing. But unfortunately, that's it. There's no front rack storage, there's no rear storage, there's no under seat storage, there's nothing else. That's all you get is your main glove box in there. So that is definitely one of the main things I don't like about this 4-wheeler, because on my Polaris I used to carry big recovery straps, and sometimes I had like bush cutters in it and like trimming shears, and it's for trimming trails of trees and stuff. Could throw all that in the front storage rack, but this has nothing, so can't carry any of that stuff anymore. The only other thing to note with this 4-wheeler compared to like coming from like a Can-Am or a Polaris is most 4-wheelers, most of the main big brands, they all have single level braking. So usually you just have a brake on this side that does your front and rear, and then sometimes a foot brake as well that does everything as well, or just rears. This 4-wheeler, everything's separate, which took me a little while to get used to because I was used to always squeezing that one whenever I needed to do anything. But in this 4-wheeler, it's separate. So this brake over here does your front wheels, and it has a parking brake lock on it, so you can lock the fronts on. So that's front only there. On the other side is rear only, so that just does the rear. So of course that gets a little funny sometimes, because like last time I had it out, when you need to do a panic stop, I was just used to grabbing on that for dear life, but of course that just does the rear. So when you grab that, it just locks up your rear and you don't stop very fast because most of the braking is for the front wheels. It does have a foot pedal here, and it's funny, this foot pedal does do both. So I'm trying to train myself and rewire my brain to, if I need an emergency stop, to stomp that, because that brake goes to both wheels. It does front and rear braking, but these are separate, so either stomp that or grab both.
We are very excited to see what more this machine has to offer and to take it on a lot more adventures. Hopefully after break-in, which it's about past break-in now, so you could probably start having your fun with it, but still going to be gentle with it. It's a new machine. As far as suspension and power-wise, seems good. Nothing to complain about really. I really just look forward to seeing what this machine is truly capable of when we get to a point where we're comfortable with starting to push it a little harder. Power steering is very nice, very smooth. There's very little about it, you know, looks wise that I don't like. the add-on bumper was definitely a must because it looks a little funny without it. It definitely adds to the mean look to have this big front bumper on. So I will say that that was definitely worth it to add that on. These units actually came with, why do I keep wanting to say fog lights?
Turn
They came
signals.
with turn signals, yes. They came with turn signals, and these would actually be road legal. In certain areas, it depends, because the laws are always different. This is a wicked machine, and I just can't wait to make more videos on this, because honestly, there's not that many that exist right now. Not on YouTube anyways, and as far as I've seen, I've only done a little bit of digging. But yeah, very excited to see what this thing is capable of when we're in a spot where we're more comfortable with pushing it harder. It's still getting babied right now. See the size of that turkey?
Only turkey I see is right there.
Yeah.